Korkenstein, I want to go to you first. Look, again, like I said moments ago, there is something to be said about narratives. And narratives usually go one way and they're not objective. And the narratives that are running rampant on social media right now are of two minds, and they're both wrong. One of which is the Microsoft has to respond. And I say again, they do not. Their lineup, their roadmap for the next 3 to 4 years is so rock solid, so steadfast, that they have the best lineup for games in the industry. Now, whether those go multi-plat or they don't is irrelevant. Those are Microsoft and Xbox first-party games that you can play on Game Pass day and date. There is something to be said about having that roadmap in front of us. And mind you, there's a ton of stuff that we don't know what they're working on, right? So no room for panic here, folks. And the other side, and this is where I got even more pushback for you, is when we start hearing the dude bros with their very loud, deep voices telling me, an old man who likes platformers, that we don't need that on this platform. You are 1,000% wrong, because the spice of life, at least what I've been told and what I've grown up with, is variety. And having a variety is a perfect example of what Game Pass is as a platform. This week alone, on that platform, both Game Pass and purchasable games, you got the Call of Duty beta, you got Age of Empires, right? Is that what came out? The Age that came out. Everyone's enjoying it. That has 20,000 current players right now on it. You have Space Marine 2. You got a bunch of stuff that have come out. So Game Pass as just a platform, if we're talking only Game Pass, just look at what they've released in that service the last couple of weeks and months. There is room for everything to grow there. So when I hear people say, well, Boom, you're a minority in this, you might be correct. You might be correct. But I think that when you have a stockpile of Conquer and Banjo and Spyro and Crash just sitting there, just literally just sitting there, to me, it just makes no sense to take advantage of it. And look, I'm going to say this right now, and this is going to probably get me a lot of pushback, maybe even some lost subs. I freaking hope Astrobot wins Game of the Year. I absolutely do. And you know why I say that? Not for a platform war horse shit. No, what it's going to say to the industry as a whole is that you can spend $20 million on a game. It doesn't have to be a team of 19,000 people making it, and it can make money. Now, again, I say make money as an asterisk because we have to see if PlayStation Nation shows up. They talk a lot of smack, but usually they sit on their hands and they put their and a lot of these players have big voices, short arms, and super deep pockets, so they can't grab the money. Let's be honest. They're not game buyers. They're just not. Like a Tyrannosaurus. Oh, look, I can't get to my wallet. Sorry, I can't buy the game. That's a lot of PlayStation gamers. It just is. But again, now I want to kind of flip it to the Banjo Bros. And there are a few of us. We're small. We're a small team. Paris Lily's a part of that crew. Ainsley from Season Gaming. A couple people reach out to me. Like, there it is, Korkenstein, Banjo Bro. We can't. Fuzzy, the door's open, but we know you're gonna pass on it. You're probably gonna. If I handed you a racing ticket, you're joining. But listen, we're platformers. He has no. It's fine. We still love you nonetheless.
Hey, Banjo part, I'm there.
Okay, well there you go. So he's a Banjo Bro. He's a closet Banjo Bro. That's what I'm talking about. Look, Banjo Kazooie. I've been banging this drum for months. For years. This channel is going to be turning 6 years old in November. As a matter of fact, again, kind of toot the own horn. We did the advertisement for it, and I didn't know we were going to hit it. 6.5 million views in under 6 years for the channel, which is just madness. Like we just got a email congratulating us from YouTube. I didn't actually know they did that, but they did. So here we go. I've been talking about this for years. I Did not like Nuts and Bolts. I tried. I went back and I played it. Good looking game, but it's not the Banjo game that I want. And I think that if you wanted to find out if there is a place for Banjo in 2024 and beyond, you make a smaller game, but you just do a high quality, balls to the wall Resident Evil 2 level remake of the original. The bones are there. Just build off the bones. Don't change it. Don't make it a modern playable game in 2020 whatever, which they could do. Resident Evil 2, if you try to play it now, one of my favorite games. It is literally my number one favorite game of all time, right? And you try to play that now, and that game is just terrible. Camera angles are awful, controller awful, graphics are just, my eyes are bleeding when I'm watching it. But that game was a game that I beat 100 times. Banjo Kazooie, it hasn't aged well. So you have the bones. And I'm sorry to say, and I know I'm going to get that. This is where the virtual tomatoes come out, guys. I know it. I could feel it. They're gonna fill up the screen. You specifically build that game as a multi-plat game, and I don't care if you launch it on PlayStation. I don't give a shit about that. You launch it on Nintendo. I would even dare say team up with Nintendo to get this thing done. That's what I would have done. I would have reached out to Nintendo, say, let's do this. You make it, we pay for it, both consoles. And you know who wins? We all do. Because Banjo-Kazooie, go look at the reaction videos when the Bird the Bear were announced for Smash. I'm getting goosebumps, bro. I watch those things, and I'm not even gonna front. Like sometimes I feel like welling up. That's how passionate I am about Banjo-Kazooie. So I think that, again, no room for panic that Astrobot is going to potentially be game of the year. But I also want to push back on anyone that's going to be like, hey, boom, platformers are not needed in 2024 on Xbox. You're wrong. You are wrong. And if you want younger gamers, like my nephew, who's becoming an Xbox gamer, why don't you have those games? Family-friendly IP seems to have been just completely wiped away. If you're appealing to a wide audience, ladies and gentlemen, you've got to have games like Banjo-Kazooie. But you can also have games like Gears of War. They can exist on a service that is the spice of life. Again, apologies for the long-windedness. Porkenstein, let's talk about it. Banjo-Kazooie, does it have a place in 2024? Let's get your thoughts.
I think it definitely does. Like you said, you're spot on everything you said. Microsoft doesn't need to respond. They got so much in the pipeline right now. If they put anything else more, they're going to start cannibalizing their own games. That's always been something that's been a big risk with Game Pass. And, when you're trying to hit 4 major releases in a year, you got to space that out. You got to do your release calendar right. Would I love a Banjo? 100%. Like I said, we're Banjo bros, 100%. But they don't need to respond. I will say, if they do eventually, Astrobot sets a pretty high bar. It's definitely, I don't like comparing games. I think a lot of people do it. Like, I think IGN, the reviewer there, he dropped Astro a point, basically, or at least in his tweet, it made it sound like this. Because it wasn't the nostalgia hit or whatever that Odyssey was. It's like, this is totally 2 different games. Like, what works for Astrobot isn't going to work for a Banjo game, just like it's not going to work for Psychonauts too. You develop games with a certain narrative and with certain things involved that just build upon a foundation. But your foundation has to be solid. It has to be planned out right for you to build off of that. That's just the issue. And it's hilarious because we literally just talked about this, about how the last 2 years PlayStation's been floundering, yet people are still like, you need to make a Banjo game just like Sony. No, like, you don't have to make a platformer. We've learned that why do people still consistently want us to be like Sony? This is what's going to happen if that people keep pushing that mindset, people keep pushing that narrative. If you have
Yes.
everybody doing the same exact thing, they control you, the consumer, because now they can raise prices however they want because all of them are doing the same thing. You're going to get not that very much diversity. You're going to see a drop in quality. You're going to see people not investing so much into their budgets because all of them are doing the same exact thing because you're all going to buy the same exact thing. This is why competition is healthy. This is why Xbox going off the beaten path is extremely healthy right now for the industry. It's changing. It's making waves. The consumers are winning, and that's what happens right now. You people, you guys have the power as consumers because of what Xbox is doing, because of what Nintendo's doing, because of what PlayStation's doing. They're three different paths, and that's power to you because now you get to vote with your wallet. And that's, I just don't understand. It's so frustrating how people keep saying the same exact thing. Be like PlayStation, be like PlayStation. Phil's already said that's not going to happen. They're not going to be a better green guy by being a better blue guy. That's just not how it works. So yeah, I don't think Microsoft needs to respond at all. If anything, I rather have them take 6-7 years to develop a solid platformer and then release. I don't want to see them trying to race to the finish line of, okay, well, Odyssey's coming out next year, or Odyssey 2 might be coming out next year. PlayStation has Astrobot, so we need to do something now. And they rushed 2-year development time, 3-year, and then now they're coming out with something like this. Astrobot works because it fits within the narrative, within the world, and it just works because it's simple. And that's, you would think simple's easy to do, but it's very, very hard to do in an art medium that will get a lot of people invested in it. So yeah, for me, Xbox doesn't have to respond. Take your time, do what you got to do. But yeah, people really do need to stop with the be like Sony. It's just, we've already seen their high balloon costs, low margins, launching a live service based off of, a cash grab. The PlayStation Pro 5, that's going to be another cash grab. It's just, that's the opposite of what you want as a consumer, where they're nickel and diming you for every little thing. So
at every corner, at every
any
instance,
corner they can,
yes.
they own you. Like I said, and it's funny, I love your little T-Rex example and stuff. This is coming from the PlayStation crowd to where they're like, we buy our games, we don't rent, before they got their own kind of Walmart Game Pass system, for themselves. So, it's just hilarious how the narratives keep changing, but that's a totally different TED Talk for another time.
Let's get into the Banjo Kazooie talk. Again, this is not the biggest topic of the show. We got some other really big bombs that we're going to get into, but I think that it should exist. I think that Xbox has enough teams, I should say, to make a game. I don't think they have to reinvent the wheel. I don't think they have to make a Banjo 3E. If they don't have to do that, I think what they need to do is reintroduce the character to the world. I think of very similar to Lego Horizon. It's going to sell better on the Switch, no doubt about it. PlayStation gamers are not showing up for that game. I am freaking telling you right now, they are not going to show up for that game. It is going to be in that, it won't even hit the top 20 releases on PlayStation. Now that's a different story when it releases on Switch. It is going to do big numbers there. So again, Banjo Kazooie, if we're looking at this, I'm going to put on the business cap for a second over the mohawk and mess it up. I'm going to put the business cap on for a second. If we're talking about this from a business point of view, you team up with Nintendo to either make this game, market this game, publish this game. I don't care how you do it. And you do a dual release. I don't care if you don't release it on PlayStation. In fact, I personally wouldn't. But I understand how the bean counters are. But if I'm being a business person and you take a $20 million, not even a big investment, because you're not doing anything but putting a new skin on the bones. An HD skin on the bones is what you're doing. A full-on when you see Banjo, the fur moves. Like that's what I'm talking about. That kind of design. You do a dual release on Nintendo, you're gonna make bank there. Nintendo people are gonna show up. I don't know so much about the Xbox guys and gals. I know I'll show up, but my Banjo crew is like 6 people deep. That's about as many people as wants a Banjo game, and that's fine. I don't mind being in a minority when it comes to that. Let's get your thoughts on some of the narratives. People, of course, Xbox has to respond, and even the media. I've seen it, and it's gross. It's gross. It's one game. It's a game that PlayStation needed. It's not going to save them from the last 2 years of a shit show. It's just not. But it's a triumph for them. They needed this W after what happened with Concord the same week, by the way. Let's get your thoughts.
I'll start with the Xbox response. I don't think it's even warranted for the fact that they've had games that have released over the past couple of years that are first party. Some went multi-plat, but most didn't. So I don't think there's a response warranted. We had Hi-Fi Rush. Is Astrobot a response to Hi-Fi Rush? Possibly.
That's a great point.
Good point.
But I don't think Xbox needs to respond. I just think Xbox needs to continue with its plan forward as far as delivering all the games that they've shown us and some of the ones that they're still working on that they haven't shown us yet. As long as they continue to do that, I'm happy, and I'm pretty sure a lot of us will continue to be happy as well. As far as Banjo is concerned, I would love for them to have that. Not just for the fact that it's an IP that's sitting dormant where Xbox or Microsoft as a whole has a lot of dormant IPs, but it would make sense in the landscape of, okay, well, we had Hi-Fi Rush as our platformer. They've kind of let that move on to another studio or to along with Tango, with them being reopened under was it Kraken or whatever the other team is that made the purchase for them. I would say have something that's either on par with, Crash Bandicoot or Banjo Kazooie. Have something where you use these IPs, you get the, revenue from it, from where you could either do plush toys or just different skins or something. Like, I think there's a missed opportunity. Like Xbox does a lot of things great as far as there's been quite a few people here, and you'll have a super chat come up later about it, where they have a lot of different, pillars of gaming covered. But as far as like that family friendly stuff, it would be nice. I don't think it's a have to have because they still have those types of games in, the Game Pass service. But, using the IPs that they have would make sense just for the fact that they could turn around and make money off of those and, do the fan service where you keep those that are looking forward to those happy. And like you said, if they do some sort of partnership with Nintendo and it's a dual release in that regard, much like the way the Lego Horizon is, I wouldn't be mad at that because it's not necessarily a game from under my radar, but I would say it's an extra game that'll be in Game Pass that I'll probably give a try and get some achievement points out of and, enjoy my time while I'm there. And I think that's something that they should look at, but I don't think they have to do it as a direct response. I just think that's something that they can add to the plethora of games that they already have. Like me personally, I'm more of the focus on fighting games first. Like do your Killer Instinct 2 and take some of the characters from Bleeding Edge and mix those in there, or maybe even put Banjo and Kazooie in there, or whatever the case may be. I think going with the Killer Instinct, and you could do a Smash Brothers style game as well, but I'd rather have like Killer Instinct be fully fleshed out, whether they have to acquire NetherRealm to help do that and maybe have a crossover between Killer Instinct and something like what do you call
Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat. I think that's probably a bigger bet for them to make that I think would pay off. Although it's still not the biggest niche in comparison to, let's say, third person over the shoulder story stuff, or even their first person shooters for that matter. So, but there's always room for it. Having Game Pass makes it the best opportunity to put something like that in there to draw more of a family-friendly base into the service. I mean, you have a lot of third-party already there doing that, but I'm all for it. Whether you hand it off to, Double Fine, or because Rare doesn't want to touch any of their old stuff.
No,
But
no.
hand it to Double Fine, or use Toys for Bob. Like right now, you have that partnership where you got something possibly in the works. We'll find out what that is, hopefully in the next 4 years or so. But they have Double Fine that they can partner with. They still have Tango that they can partner with, as well as their internal studios that they can, assign, or maybe they volunteer to do something like that. Like, look at how, Playground Games stepped up and was like, yeah, we'll take on Fable because we were looking to do an RPG, an open world RPG. So maybe Playground tries something different again after Fable's complete and they got, Forza Horizon 6 ready to go. So we'll see how things work out. But yeah, I'm all for it, but I don't think they need to do it as a response. Just do it as just something to fill the catalog and make Game Pass that even bigger value with your first party, as far as things that people may not be expecting or people would be looking to, possibly as even if the Xbox is their second console or they play it on their PC or whatever. I think having that in your catalog is worthwhile.